So yeah, I played Empulse early, and here's what I and others thought about 1047's new game. Real quick, I just want to thank 1047 for allowing us to play the game early and give our feedback. I really enjoyed Splitgate Arena Reloaded, so I'm very grateful to have been included. So to start, I want to talk about the weapons. Weapons are at the core of every FPS game, and whether or not they feel good can make or break a game. 1047, once again, have done a good job with this aspect of the game. If you've played Splitgate Arena Reloaded, you'll feel right at home in Empulse. Many of the guns sound, look, and feel like they did in Splitgate, although the game has a much shorter time to kill than something like Splitgate. I should have some gameplay in the background that 1047 provided for us to use, so you should be able to see what I'm talking about. In the build we played, the game had 2 assault rifles, 2 SMGs, 1 DMR, 1 burst rifle, 1 LMG, 1 shotgun, and 1 heavy pistol. I think this is a fair amount of weapons to start, but I would like to see more added in the near future. These weapons were also balanced fairly well, and nothing seemed super overpowered. My personal favorite of these was the burst rifle called the Triad, and I had some big games with it. On your guns, you'll have the ability to equip 2 weapon mods just like Splitgate. All of the weapon mods that I saw seemed to also be directly taken from Splitgate, so stuff like extended barrels, laser sights, fire rate buffs, etc. One unique thing about Empulse is that you can only hold one gun at a time, with your secondary being a permanent hammer that acts as a one-shot melee. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. Sometimes I wished I could swap the hammer for a pistol or something, as in the words of Gaz.
Remember, switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading.
I also feel that the hammer is made indirectly worse by the standard melee. In Empulse, 2 standard melees can earn you a kill. Given how quickly you can melee, this makes the hammer feel much less unique. I think if they lower the damage of the standard melee to something like 3 hits to kill, it could make the hammer more distinct and useful. One criticism that I and many others had with the weapons was the lack of ADS. 1047 that they, and I quote, found that it felt a lot better to just be able to point and click given all the movement mechanics and that it helps you stay in flow state. But ADS works in games like Titanfall and Apex, and I wish it was included, both for the functionality and also the feel. Speaking of feel, I want to talk about the feel of movement. Movement in Empulse feels pretty good for the most part, but given that this is a movement shooter, I think there's some work that needs to be done. The movement in Empulse is based around the main movement abilities, P.A.I.N.T, which I'll discuss later, and various player cannons placed around the map. In Empulse, you have a sprint and a slide, like many other games, but also a multi-directional wall run, a short but useful jetpack, and 2 to 3 grapple charges depending on which perk you pick. A key part of what makes a movement shooter fun for me, at least, is when the movement flow with each other. This is stuff like taking a wall jump into a B-hop in Apex, or chaining G-slides in Halo Infinite, which I know technically isn't a movement shooter, but the movement in Halo is fantastic. This sort of movement flow and the ability to carry momentum is what I love about movement shooters, and I think Empulse needs to do some work here. The first thing I noticed was the slide. The slide feels good on its own, but when using it with other things, like after jumping off a wall, it sort of kills your momentum, which doesn't feel very good, especially in a game based around movement. Now onto the grapple. I think it's okay how it is, but I really wish it worked more like Halo Infinite's grapple. When using Empulse's grapple, it felt like it was pulling me towards where I grappled too much instead of sort of flinging me in the direction I wanted to go. One thing I did really appreciate about the grapple in Empulse, though, is how you can grapple mechs, players, and whatnot. So I'd imagine once some people get some more time with the game, we'll see some insane grapple trains and player launches where you chain together multiple people grappling each other. Something I'm seeing a lot of people talk about, though, is the jetpack. In Empulse, your jetpack lasts for much less time than it did in Splitgate, but it still kind of makes the game feel floaty. Many of the other playtesters have said that replacing the jetpack with a double jump could be the better move, something more like Titanfall, and the more I think about it, the more I agree with them. Now to the wall running. I think overall it feels pretty good, and being able to wall run backwards is definitely a niche but cool twist. One thing that I did notice about the wall run is that it seemed to really pull you towards the wall, and sort of inconsistently. I found myself accidentally wall running a couple times throughout the playtest, especially when I was just playing cover near a wall. Something I noticed about Empulse, though, was the lack of a mantle or clamber. I don't particularly mind this being not included, as there's probably a few instances where this could mess up your movement, but nonetheless, Empulse does not have a mantle. Now, onto the mechs. Mechs and Empulse are interesting, to say the least. In Empulse, mechs spawn like power weapons in a standard arena shooter. On the maps I played, at least, there were only 2 mechs active at any given point in the game. They give you a 30-second timer above where the mech spawns, so you know when they'll become available. In terms of abilities, mechs have a machine gun, a rocket, a chargeable jump, a thrust, and a shield. I think these are a good set of abilities, though I wish you could customize what your abilities are, like you could in Titanfall. The main complaint with mechs is that they just don't feel powerful. It's fairly easy to just melt the mech's health, especially if you have more than one person attacking them, and this just makes you feel weak as the pilot of the mech. It's also pretty easy to avoid the mech's attacks, as the players are kind of hard to aim at when they're flying around you, and hiding behind cover completely protects yourself from the mech. Additionally, if a player gets too close to you, your mech lacks a one-shot melee like they had in Titanfall, making it easy for the players to destroy your health with a hammer. All of this combined just makes the mechs feel underwhelming, but I think a few targeted buffs could really make the mechs more fun and would allow them to turn the tide of the game instead of feeling sort of like an afterthought. Now, I know I just spent a whole minute talking about all the things I don't like about a main part of the game, so let's move on to something that I really enjoyed. Paint. Paint bombs can be thrown on any surface, and they will give anyone that steps on the surface a variety of effects. At the start of early access, the game will include jump paint, speed paint, explosive paint, heal paint, and sticky paint. Touching jump paint will boost your jump, touching speed paint boosts your movement speed, touching explosive paint damages you, touching heal paint heals you, and touching sticky paint slows you down. With something like the speed paint or jump paint, the effect that you get does not disappear when you leave the paint zone. Instead, you keep the effect for a few seconds, allowing you to get, for example, a few really big jumps after touching the paint. I think this mechanic is really cool and definitely fits into the game, but there's a few ideas that I thought I might as well share. First off, I would love if you could stack paint on surfaces. For example, your teammates could throw a speed paint on the ground and you could throw a jump paint on the same spot, so you both get speed and jump at once. In terms of additional paint, I thought maybe a magnetic paint could be cool, something that pulls you into walls or stops your jump on the ground. I also thought about some sort of slippery paint that turns off your friction. Now I think I've gone over all of the gameplay stuff that I wanted to talk about, so now I'm going to quickly go through my thoughts on the maps and modes. To start off, all modes currently in Empulse are 6v6. There were 4 modes available during the playtest, but I only played 2 of them. The 2 I played were Team Deathmatch or Slayer to 75 kills, and a Halo Oddball style mode where you had to hold a ball for 30 seconds to score a point and it was 5 points to win. The other 2 available were Capture the Mech, which is essentially capture the flag, but you have to sort of pilot the other team's mech back to your base, and then Upload, which is just uplink from Call of Duty. I think both of the modes I played fit well into the game, and I enjoyed both of them. In terms of maps, I think 1047 has some work to do here. I didn't necessarily dislike any of the maps I played, but I do wish they were bigger and had more verticality to them. Something I'm seeing a lot of people comment on is the art style, and while I don't exactly love the style, it turned out more grounded feeling than I was expecting, at least when playing. I do agree with most people saying that the game looks like a mobile game overall though, and I hope they can improve on that following all the feedback that they've been given. I'm just not sure if they can get that done in enough time before the general public sees the game and gets the chance to play it on June 15th. Overall, I had a good time playing Empulse. Each part of the game clearly has potential, and with a couple changes to make everything more cohesive, I think the game will feel very good. Honestly, right now, my main concern is whether or not they can find a way to keep the game feeling fresh and their player base engaged. If they can manage that, which I really hope they can, then this game will no doubt be popular. If you also playtested the game and had your own thoughts or have any questions about the game, feel free to discuss in the comments and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Anyways, that concludes everything I wanted to talk about. So to everyone still here, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.